In this video, we're going to graph the equation y equals 3 sine pi over 4x plus 1. So there's a lot going on here. We're changing the amplitude of our function, the period's being changed, and also we've changed our midline. So this plus 1 is going to shift our graph up 1 unit. Normally our midline for the sine function is at the x-axis, but now it's going to be at y equals 1. So our midline is going to have the equation y equals 1. So here at 1, we're going to have a new midline. So we can kind of think about that as our new midline. We can draw in a dotted line. And it's going to basically act as our new x-axis in terms of where the x-intercepts would normally hit, and the distance that our amplitude is going to be from this is going to be kind of like it was when it was the x-axis. So speaking of amplitude, what is the amplitude? Well, the amplitude is just the absolute value of 3. So our amplitude is 3. And then the period is 2 pi divided by pi over 4. So again, we have to multiply by the reciprocal of the denominator. So 2 pi times 4 over pi. In this case, the pi's cancel, and we are left with 8. So just whole numbers, 8. So let's figure out how we should label our graph. So we take the period and cut it into quarters. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. So every 2 units, we're going to have our have a major or a key point. So this is 1, 0, so 2, 3, 4, 5, -1, and so on. -2, -3. And then we're going in whole units. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we can also label it in the negative direction. And so let's start our graph. So we're going to start at the midline, or the midline is going to be kind of our reference point. It's a sine function, so we do actually start on the midline, because normally it starts on an x-intercept, so it's going to start on our new midline, so here. And then we know that the sine function normally goes up to a maximum first. So the maximum is going to be 3 units away from our midline, and the first maximum value is going to happen at 2, right? So we're using these to help us figure out where our key points are. So at 2, we're going to reach a maximum. So that's going to be 3 units above our midline. So it's going to have a maximum value of 4. And then our next key point is going to be an x-intercept, or what was an x-intercept. It's going to hit the midline. Then we're going to go down to a minimum. So from our midline, we're going to go down 3 units. So here at -2. And then at 8, we're going to hit the midline again. And this is one cycle of that graph. So it's going to go up like this, and then back down. Whoop, this is kind of bad. Back down like this, and then down here like this, and then up there. And then we could continue to graph this by following the same pattern. So at 10, we would reach a maximum. And then over here at 12, we'd be back to our midline. And then we could do the same in the negative direction. At -2, we would be down here at -2. At -4, we'd be back to our midline. And we would have we could draw another cycle of this graph here. And that would be this function.